My friend's long romance with my wife comes to an end when I print their secret communications and catch her red-handed. For the purpose of argument, let's say my friend Ethan cheated on me with my wife, 26F. A little history. We first crossed paths at a wedding when I was 22 years old. The bride's best friend and I were both invited to sit together at the reception because of our mutual friendship. She sat down and started talking, and we discovered we had a lot of similar ground. We hit it off quickly, and I was utterly blown away by her beauty. We ate our supper, spoke for a little, and then hit the dance floor. As the night progressed, we danced and drank our way to a passionate kiss in the center of the dance floor. As we separated Ryan from our companions, the bride and groom approached us, clearly eager to play matchmaker. We casually ignored their advances and continued our night together. We didn't exchange numbers as we left, but my bride asked me out on a date around 1 week later, and I gave her my number. I jumped at the chance, and we ended up dating. With the exception of a few minor disagreements, which were never major, our relationship was wonderful. After dating for almost 2 years, I finally asked her to marry me, and we were married less than a year after that. We had been married for just over a year when everything started to fall apart. In the days leading up to our first anniversary, I noticed small changes that were bothering me. She, Ryan, was being more protective of her phone. We, Ryan, were having ladies' evenings more often, and our sexual life was practically non-existent. My repeated attempts to address this issue were met with dismissal, and I was told that my anxieties were getting the best of me. My emotions and attempts to express them were ignored by her, leading me to withdraw farther and further. I no longer kiss her goodbye as I head out the door for work, and we rarely chat Ryan unless absolutely necessary. While she was asleep one night, I snooped through her phone, laptop, and messaging apps, but I couldn't find anything. I next investigate Ryan's car, based on what I read here. I snatched her keys and searched her car, where I discovered a second phone. I knew then and there what was going on, but I needed proof so that when I confronted Ryan, she wouldn't be able to claim anything weak like that. I was only able to locate one number when I searched the phone book. After reading every message, I spent the night looking for divorce attorneys after connecting the phone to my computer and printing out all of the messages and photos. I was at my home office for hours on end reading lawyer biographies. I finally found one I liked and emailed him, but he wasn't available because it was a Saturday. I immediately reached for my phone and dialed the number since I was curious about the man's identity. The number for Ethan's contact came up just as I was about to call and claimed to be Spectrum, because, really, who doesn't have Spectrum? After some mental wrangling, I finally understood, and I lost it. I told my wife to get the F out of my office as soon as she came in to see if I was still ranting and swearing. Going to our room, she shut the door behind her. I had never before yelled at my wife or made a loud noise. I spent the whole day confined to my office, where I sat and stared at the wall in quiet fury. I phoned the groom from the wedding, a buddy of mine, to ask if he would accompany me for a drink. He must have picked up on something in my voice because he then asked if I was okay. I assured him I wasn't and that I needed a drink badly. Consequently, I went to the bar alone after stealing all the printouts. It was I who showed up first, ordering a beer and 4 shots of Ethan. When my friend Ryan showed up there and wanted to know what was going on, I was down to my final shot. I told him how it is. Sophia is cheating on me. He felt bad for me, but when I asked if he wanted Ryan to know who, I revealed that it was Ethan. He was the one who introduced me to Ethan, and he just kept saying, "I'm sorry." After that, he got obviously annoyed. Ethan and I were never particularly close. We seldom asked each other out, but we were always cordial whenever we ran into each other at social events. I warned Ryan not to tell anyone since I only just found out and haven't even contacted Ryan, Sophia, or an attorney yet. I begged him not to tell his wife, and he consented that I should tell her I'm having issues at work if she wants Ryan to know what was wrong with me. I walked up to our bedroom and went to sleep after calling an Uber and getting home around 3 in the morning. When I checked my phone for the first time since calling Ryan, I saw a plethora of texts and missed calls from Sophia, who had been wondering when I would be home and whether everything was okay. We had spent most of the night drinking and chatting. She was still in bed when I woke up, so I got ready and headed out the door. I retrieved my car and headed to my workplace, where I immersed myself in work for the day. When I returned home at approximately 10 o'clock in the evening, I was surprised to see that my wife had prepared supper and asked if I wanted her to reheat it. I politely declined and went to bed. I told her to go away since I needed to sleep, and she came over shortly after to inquire about what was wrong with me. Eventually, I lost it and yelled at Sophia, "Stop bothering me. I'm trying to sleep. Glad you finally went away." The lawyer emailed me the next morning to schedule a meeting for later that day. I confirmed and prepared for the day. I sat down to a tiny piece of food that Sophia had cooked when she asked if we could chat before I headed downstairs to go. Initially, she inquired as to why I've been acting differently and continued by describing all the ways in which I've changed. Work has been tough, but I assured her it will be done soon. After finishing up, I informed her that I need to go. I proceeded to my workplace and began to mentally tally the minutes till my legal appointment. My wife would occasionally contact my workplace before she left, so I informed my assistant that I was going out to lunch with a client before I left. I reported to Ryan all of my findings about her to the lawyer in our productive meeting, and he said, "I apologize for everything that's happening, but I'm glad you gathered all this information. You see, we live in an at-fault state." This made sense. A large portion of your wealth is thus not subject to your wife's claims. I informed him that I hadn't given that any consideration. I was just considering getting a divorce from her right now. Since I haven't informed my wife yet and would rather not hear her explanations, I told him I'd rather he create copies instead of keeping the proof. In agreement, he had his helper print up copies. He informed me that it will take around 2 weeks to serve her the papers. I expressed my gratitude and departed Ryan. Arriving home to confront my wife, I tried calling her, but she wasn't there. I tried again and still got no response. "Please go home so we can discuss." I texted Ryan that it doesn't matter if you're riding Ethan at the moment. Just as I was ready to tell her to hurry home immediately, she phoned me wondering what on earth I was chatting about. She shows there around 15 minutes after that, and I point out to her that those 15 minutes are roughly equivalent to the distance between our location and Ethan's. I gave her a minute to collect herself, but all she did was stare at me in disbelief. I had nothing to say, so she continued to stare. After I allowed her to continue trying to gaslight me and refute the accusation, she became angry and began to insult me. To get her to stop talking, I pounded my fist on the table. I then proceeded to amass proof, which I displayed sideways, and demanded that she see the mountain of data I had accumulated. Ryan. I proceeded to show her the printouts one by one. At that point, she began to sob and told me to stop. She told me she loved me and attempted to apologize. "My darling, where did that energy go?" I said. "Just 1 minute ago, you were hellbent on criticizing and demeaning me." Attempting to express her remorse, she tried to hang me. I extended my hand and signaled that she shouldn't touch me. She then said that we could go to my bedroom and do as I pleased. My gaze met hers, and I made it clear. "I will never touch you again, my darling." Would you be interested, Ryan, in finding out who else possesses these images and texts? The attorney on my behalf. Please leave my house immediately. I am divorcing you. Gather your belongings and put them in a suitcase. Still no word from her since that happened 3 days ago. I apologize in advance for any typos or lengthiness of this. Those who have been in my shoes pique my interest. So, what's the plan? The reader is appreciative of Ryan. Update 1. You guys offered me a lot of advice after I wrote the first half of this, and I took most of it into consideration. I had an appointment with my doctor to get examined for sexually transmitted diseases, STDs, booked for 2 days from now, since I intended to conduct some damage control in my life this morning. The next thing I did was start getting in touch with my family and close friends, including my dad. I politely rejected Ryan's offer of assistance because I already had this nonsense under control, but they have all been incredibly encouraging and have offered their own advice. I began getting in touch with her family after that. I texted Ryan's parents to express my gratitude for welcoming me into their home and for everything they had done for me. Although they are wonderful people, I am relieved that I will no longer be required to cope with Sophia and our stifling relationship, which is the reason we are divorcing. Afterwards, I encouraged them to ask any questions they might have. I went on to Sophia's sister after not hearing back from them for a long time. This made me sad since Sophia's sister and I had a close connection, and I was worried that this might strain our bond. My ex-wife Sophia and I are divorcing, and I want Ryan to know, so I contact Ryan to let her know. Thank you for accepting me as a brother from the very beginning. If you ever want any assistance, I will be available to you. I will transcribe the interview roughly when her parents replied to the SMS I sent. Parents, we're devastated to hear about what occurred. Why hasn't Sophia spoken to us about it? It seems likely that Sophia and I began our affair before our wedding. It has been going on for at least a year. I expect Ryan to come to you once she leaves the home, but I don't know why she hasn't contacted you yet. I suggest you give her a call. Parents, no, she has not contacted Ryan or us. Thank you for informing us. We will contact her. Did she really have an affair, in your opinion? I found their texts. I'm sure of it. We apologize to you, parents, for what she has done. It is our intention to make contact with her. Moving on from her family, I spoke with Ethan's fiancée. I don't recall if I mentioned his engagement in the previous section. Some of the comments did bring it up. I know. I was expecting Sophia and Ethan to have some grand scheme to make things tough, but either she didn't tell him I found out, or they're both complete dimwits. At about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I texted Ryan to see if she was available to meet up for coffee or anything. At 2:05, she gave her okay, and at 2:30, she said we could meet in a seedy coffee shop across from her office. I was the first to arrive, ordered my terrible coffee, and waited for Ryan a few minutes. Then she came in, got her coffee, and joined me. I told her there's no easy way to tell you this, so I'll just blurt it out. Ethan has been cheating on you with my wife for over a year. I should have informed you then, but I was busy starting a divorce and dealing with my own feelings of shame. She was obviously astonished, so I explained that I only found out a few days ago. She wanted Ryan to know how I found out. Everything in the first post was relayed to her. After that, I produced a binder and asked if she would want to examine the evidence I had collected from Ryan. She snatched the binder and began to quietly weep as she perused the photographs and words within. If she chose to confront Ethan with the binder or use it to test his honesty, I assured her she could have it, along with any further copies. She thanked me, got to her feet, and grabbed the binder. I advised her to just let me know if she needed anything more. She nodded, and then she went out, seeming dejected. I know you all said I should just remain sober and keep my cool, but everything has just fallen apart for me. For the rest of this week, I intend to sip cocktails while listening to loud music on my back porch and smoking cigars. My typical routine will resume after this week, and I will cease moping about. More positively, I have already packed up the majority of her belongings, including clothing, jewelry, and our wedding album, along with any and all photos that feature her. I would prefer that she not be here for an extended period of time if and when she returns to get her belongings. Just so you know, I didn't spoil her clothes. Aside from a few picture frames, nothing else was damaged. There is currently no new information to provide. I have notified all relevant parties, including my doctor and attorney, who are working tirelessly to extricate me from this mess, and 90% of her belongings are in storage. Assuming she refrains from pulling my hair, this divorce could go down in history as the easiest one ever. Please know how much I value your time and opinion in reading this. To continue with the second update, I apologize for my long absence and the fact that I have not responded to any comments or messages. However, I believe I have caught up, and here is the news. Well, ever since the update, I've been quite enjoying my pity party drinking session. This is probably the first time I've felt somewhat sober since learning about everything. I still have no idea what to say about how I feel. Numb seems like a good description. I informed you all in the last post that I alerted Ryan, everyone except for Sophia's sister, with whom I had a strong relationship, and she chose not to react. My drinking spree continued the night I made the update. I eventually passed out on my back patio with a bottle and many beer cans around me. I awoke to the aroma of breakfast cooking. Sophia returned and apparently believes that breakfast will make up for her actions. That was my initial thinking. To my astonishment, it was Sophia's sister, Lila, and I launched myself out of my chair in preparation for a yelling fight after getting myself worked up into a frenzy. Lila ran over to me and embraced me the second she saw that I was awake, so I stood there for a while trying to regain my composure. Rather than engaging in conversation, she merely grasped my hand, guided me to the table, and placed a dish before me. She apologized as I ate and told me about the day her sister came up at her house and simply said that everything was going to be well in a few days since we were experiencing troubles. Afterwards, she informed me that she had asked Sophia whether it would be all right when I sent her the news of our divorce. If he is divorcing you, why? It seems like Sophia finally told Ryan about everything. In response to her claim that she had told you everything, I scoffed and told her everything that had transpired. Sophia had told Lila that it was an Isola Ryan incident. Therefore, I was exaggerating the situation, Lila informed me. I informed Lila that I am not interested in reconciling with Sophia, so she is wasting her time if that is the reason she is here. If she continues to communicate with Sophia, Lila should advise her to see an attorney. She chuckled and declared her undivided attention to me, rather than her sister. Sure, she'd support my sister, she assured me, but, as friends, she wouldn't leave me, even if I hadn't done anything wrong. After getting up from the table, I walked over to her side and gave her a bear hug. Her words put my mind at ease. I was terrified that our friendship would be destroyed by the current drama. Just as I was getting ready to head to my cabin, Lila departed Ryan from the guest bedroom, where she had remained for 2 days. Sophia is allergic to it, even though I had it before we were married. She asked if she might come along when I gathered my gear for hunting and fishing, but I told her that, as much as I want Ryan to, she should probably see her sister first. She nodded, embraced me, and departed Ryan. Just so you know, Lila isn't into me. She's 20 years old, which is far too young for me. What we have is a wonderful relationship, and I'm incredibly thankful to her for always being there for me. The findings of my visit to the doctor should be available on Monday. I nearly forgot to mention that. Ethan's fiancée has been my go-to for reassurance, but every time I contact her, she says she's okay and is at a loss for what to do. I told her I'd be delighted to listen if she wanted Ryan to meet up with me next week at any time to talk. To everyone who has read, contacted Ryan, and offered compliments, I am eternally grateful. You have all shown a light on a very dark period for me. My only advice to anyone going through what I am right now is to keep your chin up, figure out what you want out of life, divorce or reconciliation, and take things one step at a time. In my instance, I will be notified by my lawyer, doctor, and close associates. However, instead of venting online, carve out some time to talk about how you really feel. Once again, I apologize for the length of these updates, but I am very grateful. Third update. I said in my last article that Lila spent a few days at my house before departing as I was packing up to go hunting at my cabin. The good news is that I was able to go fishing for the remainder of my stay out there after I shot a buck, a beautiful fat 8-pointer. I was thrilled to have done this on my first day out there. The 2 that I did manage to reel in were of respectable size, so I ate one for supper and killed the other. I stayed in the cabin for the remainder of my trip to clean my deer and take in the scenery. I stuck to my word and didn't drink at all during the vacation, save for 1 or 2 drinks here and there. I only drank during the last week. Moving on to the most recent events, my doctor called to let me know that I am completely clear. The fact that I haven't experienced many intense evenings in the past several months doesn't come as much of a surprise to me, but you can never be sure. After a while of no response from Ethan's fiancée, who I had contacted Ryan, she finally got back to me, saying that she is currently living with her family. Staying with her family suggests things aren't going well, even if she didn't say anything about it. Thankfully, she is surrounded by loved ones who are secure and ready to lend her whatever assistance she may need. I advised her to just reach out if she needs anything. The next day, she invited Ryan and me to meet for coffee, and I gladly accept Ryan. The next day, we reconnected with Ryan at the same obnoxious hipster cafe and had a 2-hour conversation. Everything that transpired between Sophia and myself was discussed. She was worried that I was about to file for a divorce and wanted Ryan to know whether we could get back together. She clearly didn't care about me since she cheated Ryan on me for an entire year. I told her that in my book that's it. I want Ryan to know her strategy. She confided in me that she is bewildered by everything and that her assumptions about the truth have been proven to be incorrect. She was at a loss as to whether to forgive him or move on with her life. She informed me that everyone in her family was urging her to forgive her unfaithful husband and continue ahead with her marriage plans. But I told her that if she could forgive him after all that time, she must be a better person than me. I warned her I would be honest with her and continued, "Just because your family wants it doesn't mean you have to follow along." I went on to say that Ethan clearly doesn't care about marriage and all it entails because he cheated on Ryan and is unfit to be married after his fiancée had an affair with my wife. I admonished her to always follow her gut and not let other people decide on matters that would have a lasting impact on her life. Upon learning the news, I informed her that my only option was to try to accept and forgive her, but no matter how much my heart tried, it was just not possible. Additionally, I mentioned that I had spoken with just one individual, yet, I was already committed to my decision, and nobody could sway me from it. When you visited Ryan's family, I'm sure you had a nice plan. However, you invited Ryan too many people over, and they all had different opinions. Finally, I told her to trust her intuition. Her rational mind and emotional state will always mislead her, but she may usually be correct when her gut tells her something is wrong. We parried Ryan's ways and headed home not long after she thanked me. My lawyer notified me the next day that Sophia had been served at her place of employment. Considering how quickly he has completed all of his tasks, I want Ryan to express my gratitude to him. Lila contacted Ryan shortly thereafter to inform me that Sophia has spent the whole day in her room, weeping uncontrollably. I informed her that she is likely now aware of how seriously she erred and that she was served. How was the cabin? Lila wants Ryan to know if I needed anything. During my stay there, I detailed everything for her. I had my house and myself ready for my wife's outburst before we ended our short conversation. After receiving her punishment, I assumed that if there was a window of opportunity, she would seize it. I am now taking my time and being patient. For what I expect to be a severe headache, I have Advil ready to go. After I informed my friend, he promised to rush over to be a witness in the event that Sophia showed up, just in case everything else falls through. I will provide you with another update once Hurricane Sophia has passed over my residence. Until then, I will continue to write. Again, I appreciate everyone taking the time to read this. Fourth update. I was expecting Sophia to storm up to the house and lose it about an hour after my last post. Despite all that has transpired, I never truly understood the woman, thus I didn't understand why she would do anything. I double-checked the functionality of every single one of my installed cameras, both indoors and out. Just want Ryan to give my buddy a heads up that Sophia was served today. If she shows up, he has to be at my place ASAP. Because of this woman, I will not be sent to jail. My suspicions were confirmed when Sophia arrived at the house, pounding on the door and yelling for someone to allow her in. My buddy Lila and I were summoned here by Sophia as soon as she pounded on my door. She begged me to let her in while scolding me profanely and asking how I could be so callous. She's not wrong. I couldn't help but giggle as she screamed and banged on the door. I pondered why she didn't simply come in since, as far as I knew, she had the keys. My friend arrived to find her still yelling and swearing. He began recording on his phone and remained in the truck. However, this moron had his wife, Sophia's friend, along, so she stepped out to try to soothe her. In an attempt to initiate conversation, she approached Sophia, embraced her, and stepped forward. My buddy, who has footage of the incident, called the police when Sophia smacked her across the face while yelling at her to be quiet. Until the arrival of the cops, she persisted in yelling and cursing. One of the two cops approached her as she desperately pretended to be a victim, and she began to sob as she told them that I had physically assaulted Ryan and thrown her out of the house. The other officer was informed by my buddy and his wife that upon their arrival at the house, she was shouting and pounding on the door, making it impossible for them to verify that I had not done what Sophia said I had done. I was startled when Sophia exclaimed, "Look at him. He hit me. I want him arrested, Ryan. The police had just finished speaking with my buddy and his wife when he showed up at my door. When I informed him that I could show he was lying to you using my phone, he began to handcuff me. The cop pulled over and requested Ryan that I show him the footage from the surveillance cameras outside. Upon seeing the footage, he expressed regret for thinking I was at fault without doing any investigation. I assured him that I didn't hold him responsible, but he proceeded to inform me that my neighbors had called 15 times in all, and that he had allegedly struck me while Sophia was yelling at him. The cops had apparently already decided. Sophia spent half an hour negotiating with the police before she was subsequently handcuffed and faced charges of public drunkenness, DUI, and disturbing the peace. Lila walked in as the cops were escorting Sophia to the car and wanted Ryan to know what had occurred. I showed her the footage from my phone to explain everything. An officer came over to give me the case number and other documentation. Lila began to dispute the charges, so I went back inside. Lila hurried over and took a seat next to me. She informed me that she had hurried out of the home for 10 minutes to go to the store, but upon her return, Sophia was nowhere to be seen in the living room. As a result, Lila assumed that Sophia had gone to bed after consuming too much wine. I told Lila that Sophia had to spend the night in jail after we chatted with Ryan for a bit, and she asked if she could spend the night. I told her she was welcome anytime. They might be able to save her in the morning, though I'm not sure why. She informed me that upon my return inside, she would contact Ryan's parents to apprise them of the situation and inquire if they might assist Sophia, as Lila does not own such substantial funds. After sharing a beer, we promptly retired for the night. It was early morning when I awoke, and Lila had already departed to see her parents. Even though I haven't heard back from Sophia, Lila, or their parents, I am not enjoying this discussion. Update 5. Since that night, Sophia hasn't been in touch with me, but her lawyer informed my lawyer that he will be representing Sophia. It is now time to begin this procedure. Additionally, I contact Ryan, Ethan's fiancé, to inquire about her current situation. Although our communication was limited to texting, she informed me that she had expelled him from her home and had her father and brother collect all of his belongings and deliver them to his residence. According to what she told me, she wants to leave things in the past and go on, even if her dad and brother want Ryan to beat him. She thanked me for asking how she was doing and assured me that her closest friends would be there for her in a need, so that she may witness the outpouring of love that you all provide. I sent her the URL to my Reddit profile. I hurried home from work on Friday. For the weekend, I intended to return to my cottage. Upon my arrival, I saw Lila waiting in my driveway. She planned to take her sister's belongings and had a rundown of everything my wife was expecting. I gave it a cursory perusal, but there was one item that was either in a box or waiting to be collected by Ryan from my garage. Everything in here is off limits to me, I informed her. I will not accept responsibility if Sophia decides she wants to say I broke her belongings. I informed her that I would hire movers to pack and load all of her belongings because I am currently heading to my cabin and would not have time to deal with Sophia's nonsense. That sounded fantastic, and she wishes me a good time. She loaded up her car with a box of Sophia's clothing. Next, she looked across at me and asked Ryan if she may come along on this occasion. Sure, I suggest Ryan return home, leave the package, and then get a bag for her. She had already pulled up to the lot when I had finished at the store and was loading up the vehicle. I escaped to the cabin with Lila after locking up my house. Last time I was up there, I discovered what a treasure that spot is. It's totally isolated, so I don't have to deal with anyone. It's a spot you can really breathe in and rest, and the weekend went swimmingly. 3 men and a large truck arrived today, Tuesday, after I contacted Ryan, a moving firm, on Monday, and they began packing my belongings. I kept all the boxes open and videotaped the movers opening and retrieving each one. I also photographed and recorded the movers loading each piece of furniture. After I gave everyone an extra $50 and thanked them for putting up with me, I forwarded the photos and recordings to my lawyer and went about my day. Without all her belongings here, the house appears both empty and immaculate. I put most of the furnishings in storage as my lawyer advised me not to remove anything that may be seen as shared when I began this procedure. Since she departed, Ryan, I've been purchasing new furniture and sleeping in the guest room. I didn't start writing this post until now. Now that I have the room in the garage, I think I'll store most of it there. Even if I end up with the house in the divorce, I will still not be retaining it. It brings up just too many painful memories. Consider it done. Update 6. It has been quite some time since my last post. There isn't much spare time for me right now because I'm coaching high school baseball on top of getting my divorce finalized, dealing with my soon-to-be ex, and these kids. Please be patient with me because a lot has transpired, and this message may be lengthy. A few days after the movers delivered her belongings to Sophia, my lawyer got papers stating that I had damaged her possessions and that she was threatening legal action unless I paid her $1,500. In order to prove his point that I caused the harm he claimed, my lawyer supplied her a plethora of visual evidence. Even though it's a pain right now, he assured me that this will all be wonderful proof when the judge sees how insane she is. Her attorney was unprepared for my level of detail orientation and my intention to picture and record every detail. After learning of my wife's infidelity, I was compelled to read the horrific accounts of the abuse that some people's ex-spouses inflicted upon them. I will not, under any circumstances, become another victim of such treatment. Almost every possible conclusion and charge she may make has already been planned out for me. By now, I wouldn't be surprised if she accomplished anything. Once every other day, Sophia would contact me, but I would never answer her call. If she ever left a message, I would just forward it to my lawyer. You are a lawyer's dream come true. He says every time I email him, you pay attention to what I say, and you've accumulated a mountain of evidence without my help. Not a single customer of mine has ever done so well. He really does say it every time, and I'm not exaggerating when I tell you that it always makes me laugh. Having him tell me I'm doing the right thing has helped ease my anxiety over the Delilah. Our lawyer informed me 2 or 3 weeks ago that we have sufficient proof to try to bury her outside of court, and even if it fails, it would reflect well on us for trying. So, we scheduled a meeting in the office of an impartial lawyer a week ago. Even before we met, he warned me not to respond emotionally to anything Sophia says, since our conversation would be recorded and reviewed by a judge in the event that our case gets to court. When we got to the office first thing in the morning, I was surprised to see that she and her lawyer were already there. We entered the room, and the attorneys immediately began to shake hands. Sitting in silence, Sophia and I anticipated what was about to happen. The attorney representing Sophia began by inquiring about our services. Mine made fun of Sophia's bad behavior and adultery, and she told Ryan that all we can give is half of the house's selling price and half of the savings account. No judge would ever give you that much. In a nutshell, you will take out of the marriage exactly what you brought into it. Afterwards, he turned to Sophia and said that if she went to court, he would make her read every message aloud, post every photo, which he didn't mention at the time, and have her describe in detail what she was doing in each one. After that, I will play the footage from that night and bring up your recent accusations. Sophia looked at me, her eyes welling up with tears, and she asked if there was anything she could do to fix this. You have been unfaithful to me before our wedding, I remarked. Nothing you could do could ever make me forget or forgive you for what you've done. All I have to go on is a few weeks leading up to the wedding, but I know it was much longer. I want this whole mess that you made up with you to end, so please sign the paperwork. It's more than you deserve. She had to excuse herself to go to the toilet after shrieking for 15 minutes. Even though she was still crying when she got back, she quickly signed the paperwork and left. So, in approximately 1 month, I will have completed all of the necessary paperwork for Ryan and will only need to sell the house. Thank you so much for taking the time to read this and for the insightful comments. I probably won't be posting again, but if something does happen, I will definitely let you know. For the time being, though, I don't see anything else occurring. I hope that at least one person has benefited Ryan by what has occurred to Sophia. Thank you all once again.